Brian Krassenstein, no relation to Ken Klippenstein, a writer, entrepreneur, and social media political pundit, posted on Twitter following Robertson's death. Let's pull up the tweet. He tweeted, Pat Robertson, a religious broadcaster, political commentator, former presidential candidate, and the host of the 700 Club, has passed away at 93 years old. I fiercely disagreed with many things this man said and stood for, but to see people on Twitter posting things like rest in hell, Pat, or attacking him on the day of his passing disgusts me. Well, he's giving me the idea to go on Twitter right now and tweet rest in hell, Pat. But he continues on, even posting what should seem like a harmless picture of Robertson. Let's pull that up. Here it is. Harmless is hard to use to describe this picture. He looks like he just stepped off the set of the Land of Confusion music video. That barely human looking in that pit. It's like a claymation recreation of Pat Robertson. Anyway, what Krassenstein had to say about it was, be better than that. Criticize him when he's alive to push back, because we all know Pat Robertson was active on Twitter at pushing back against the criticism we're all levying against him. But he continues, but don't attack him on the day that he dies. It's also important to realize that older generations and those who follow religion often think differently than many of us. It's fine to argue that they are misguided and misinformed, but to pretend they are evil is disingenuous. We can all do better than we are. If I offended you with this post, look in the mirror. Well, Brian Krassenstein, I don't have to pretend that Pat Robertson is evil. He was evil. He was just pure evil. And we're gonna get into some of the specifics and the ways that he was evil in a minute. But I just want to say, to Brian Krassenstein, to whitewash Pat Robertson as someone you just had an ideological disagreement with is disgusting and disingenuous. He didn't just think differently than us. He was literally homophobic and xenophobic and excruciatingly racist. But for Brian to completely gloss over his history is laughably pathetic, which is a great way to describe the Krassenstein brothers. And it's akin to when some Democrats attempt to invoke the name of Ronald Reagan as an American hero and a patriot, despite the fact that he described AIDS as a moral failing and allowed thousands and thousands of people to die of AIDS while he was president. So we're gonna get into the specifics of what Pat Robertson did during his pathetic life that makes me say these things about him on the day of his death. But Bennie, I want to bring you in here first on this, just to talk about how frustrating it is. We had this with Rush Limbaugh, the neoliberal line that you can't criticize someone just because they died.
Yeah, I mean, the harsh reality is the liberals that say that are on some level just as evil, right? They're very similarly evil because these are the same people who will run around unironically asking the transgender question because they just have some questions about trans people, not realizing that they are actively supporting these people. And so that's the thing. These liberals are just as evil as these people are, right? As these Pat and Robertsons are. Because what they do is they provide legitimacy and cover for them. And so they don't like the idea of somebody saying rip bozo to people like Pat Robertson, right? Because of course, they're doing the same thing. They're the people I do declare, yes, we must ask the transgender question. Well, what a very interesting intellectual discussion. And so no, yeah, you're evil if you're running around saying how dare you say this about this sweet, innocent, religious man. I don't care if you're from a different time. Queer people existed in those times too. I don't care if you're religious. There are plenty of queer religious people, okay? I genuinely do not care. If you are running around calling for the extermination of queer people, if you're running around trying to criminalize our existence, I think you're evil. And if you're one of the people that is just asking questions to engage with people that you just have some ideological disagreements with, then you're in the same boat because you already have decided that the humanity of queer folks is a question to you.
Exactly, or to even do this sort of song and dance where you're essentially whitewashing Pat Robertson's legacy. You're saying that you don't value queer people because the damage that he did to queer people, the attacks against our community, it's not important to you. What's important is that we give Pat Robertson respect in his death that he didn't earn in his life.